Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am very pleased to be able to kind of intro this next presentation. We are going to get a presentation on the FEMA Special Interest Group Code of Ethics that was designed. I actually sat on that committee. Dr. Sandy Smith and Dr. Shirley Feldmann-Jensen were the co-chairs of that committee, and I got to work with them on this, but it's a very important initiative that we are putting forward, and I felt it was very important to bring that forward for this summit because leadership and ethics, they go together so closely. And in general, we put a lot of work in this over the last few years. It's starting to come to fruition, and we are developing additional training curriculum to go along with this code of professional ethics. It is the Code of Ethics and Professional Standards of Conduct for Emergency Management Professionals. It's a huge deal in continuing to grow what it is that we do as professionals. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Sandy Smith and Dr. Shirley Feldmann-Jensen as hosts, so they can share their PowerPoint and go through that. And I'll be in the background asking questions as needed.
Thank you, Daniel. Sure do appreciate this opportunity to be able to share with the whole community of emergency management regarding the ethics, Code of Ethics and Professional Standards of Conduct for Emergency Management Professionals. Today, we're going to discuss this development process, as well as just what's in the code structure, the professional standards, talk a little bit about the ethics in action and what that is, as well as our external use of this document and internal use of the document. We really do appreciate your attentiveness so that you can be an ambassador for emergency management and sharing this code of ethics with others.
Thank you, Sandy. So we want you to know that the development of this code of ethics did not happen in a vacuum, and it was not just pulled out of our hat and it was one person's idea. No, this was a multiple year effort going back as far as 2010, 2012, when just a few people were talking about it, having conversations, getting the dialogue started. We involved academics, practitioners of every stripe, and ethicists to come inform our process. During the past couple of years, we developed, as a group of about a dozen people, a thorough consensus-based document draft to put out to the wider community. Now, we used a consensus-based process. We used the standard model based on responsibilities to different audiences, and we developed standards that have a clear duty of care focus. So when this draft document was completed, we presented it to the community, the practitioner community, the academic community, and all the community of emergency management practice embraces, and left it open for 7 months for a survey to be conducted and comments to be given. And then the document incorporated, there was another group that processed all those comments and feedback, and it was incorporated into the new and finalized document that is now viewed as a community of emergency management artifact. So the vetting process, as I was talking about, the vetting, the review, the revision, when we started, the draft document had 31 completed standards, and these reduced down to 29, I believe, and they featured various emergency management and practitioner and academic values that were based on an extended need for revision. And the second review process was a possibility, but we had so many positive comments coming back and supportive comments. There was just a few revisions that needed to be made, and some of it was around repetition and clarity of language, and really widening or narrowing the scope of that particular standard. So we had wide support, and the second review process wasn't necessary. As I said, the draft document had been open to the wider community for 7 months for comments. And then when those comments and that survey, the completed surveys were done, there was a team of reviewers that went through and coded all the comments, and the coding was discussed and the revisions were made based on that coding. So the revisions again were minor and there was no need to vet again. The comments informed basic coverage, and this is now a community-wide document. And Sandy's going to tell you about the code.
Part of what we did was we thought about what needed to be in code of ethics, not just in the professional standards. Those, as Shirley was saying, the 31 when we moved to 28 of them, but the code structure, we wanted to make certain it was clear that it provides professionals with a set of foundational tenets that guide ethical practice and decision-making. And you will find in the appendix of this code a model for making ethical decisions. Of course, we encourage, you might have a different model that you utilize, but that one should use a model for making ethical decisions. And that it was very important that we were clear that we wanted everyone to emphasize thinking and acting ethically. And that, as Shirley was discussing, that we have this duty of care, and that it must be grounded in ethical deliberation, this duty of care. Of course, as well, we wanted to frame that ethical thinking about behaviors and decisions are in conjunction with the code of professional conduct, that emergency managers, emergency management professionals would have something that they could rest upon when they are doing their work. And that I would remind you, foundational tenets are both aspirational and prescription, and they capture the essence of effective and just emergency management practice. So there's a code of ethics at the very beginning of it, as then it moves into the professional standards. Next slide.
So the professional standards of conduct fell broadly into 3 different categories. There are 28 standards, 7 areas of responsibility, and they're behavior-based, responsibility focused with that inherent duty of care that we've been talking about. And it's really important to emphasize that they're aligned with the principles of emergency management, they're aligned with the next generation core competencies, and they're aligned with other established emergency management artifacts and documents that are already foundations of our profession. The clear emphasis on professionalism and representation of the profession is important, and it helps describe this. None of this is new. This is all what you know. If you're an emergency manager, you're going to look at it and go, yeah, that's us. This is what it is. It's not prescriptive, but it's a process description, and it's designed to be a living document, but it's also designed to help others understand who we are. So the broader areas that these standards fall under are first the affected populations, the partners and stakeholders in public, and the environment. I view this like as a nested network, and I kind of portray it this way. Then next we look at the profession itself and the professional standards of conduct for the profession, for your employers, and for your colleagues. And then, of course, importantly, our professional standards of conduct for yourself as a professional, and the responsibility to take care of yourself in this area where we are so relied upon to help others. It's vitally important that we take good care of ourselves so that we are in mint condition to do so. Sandy, I will turn it back to Sandy. Oh, you're on mute, Sandy.
I just figured that out. My apologies. Thank you, Shirley. We found it important as we were working through these standards after we had received the comments back, I think we all in the SIG had some thought that we might need to give some explanation at different points, but it became really crystal clear that we needed to have ways for people to see how these standards might play out in the real world, as well as so that we could have ways for those of us who are academicians, when we're teaching ethics and teaching these standards to our students, that we would have some case studies, some just vignettes that they could say, oh, I get it about that standard. I see how that looks. So that is what the Ethics SIG is working on at this time. And even though it is now the fall, we want to encourage you that if you, or as we're beginning to look at the fall, but we want to encourage you, if you're interested in being part of our SIG and helping us with these ethics in action, we would love to have your help. You don't have to have been involved with the FEMA higher education program before. You can just, let us know you're interested to help, because we're working on these particular ethics in action for each of the standards. And our deadline, our personal deadline, is that by December of 2022, we will have this done. And we have a placeholder in the document, and it's labeled Appendix C. It's now back to you, Shirley.
Andy. So as we consider the external use of the document, it's really important to have a catchphrase about what is an emergency management professional. Our helicopter pad speech is emergency management professionals protect lives, livelihoods, and quality of life. We can go on longer, and the code and the standards help define it in longer terms. But for the helicopter pad speech, emergency management professionals protect lives, livelihood, and quality of life. And that's really important. Externally, to others that aren't emergency management professionals, it helps to sensitize them to the scope and importance of emergency management and efforts. And it helps to support the practitioner community in engagement with partners, employees, and others regarding the responsibility and resources. You might find with these codes and standards in place, we get better recognition, and therefore with recognition comes more reliable resources for our practice. The document also helps to reshape the understanding for other people and their value of what an emergency management professional is. And this should happen organically, because now we have really clearly defined a lot of these pieces. It also will shift external narratives about practitioners and their knowledge and their specific knowledge and their expertise. And with that shift of that narrative, it becomes a lot more valued. And overall, the code of ethics and the standards are to help you be more valued in the work you do, because you are protecting lives, livelihoods, and quality of lives for other people.
Internally, how are we thinking that we might be utilizing this document? We're seeing that this document will help to inform the professionalization advancement. Many of us believe that emergency management is a profession. Yet we know that for most professions, they all have a code of ethics. And so that we saw this as very key to advancing our profession. It's going to help to inform higher education accreditation standards and the processes for it. I would expect that our accrediting bodies will see this as a key piece for their way of looking at and assessing emergency management programs. And it's going to also set the stage for future degree requirement and national licensure.
Thank you. And so with that exciting news, the Code of Ethics and Standards of Professional Conduct for Emergency Management Practice and Professionals is now available. And Mr. Daniel Scott has a copy to dispense throughout this summit. And you can also find it on the Ethics SIG on the FEMA Higher Education homepage, webpage under the Ethics SIG. It will be posted there too, but it's much easier to get with the summit. So I encourage you to get your copy today, read it and know it and share it far and wide. Thank you for having us today.
And
Absolutely.
Daniel,
Yes.
and Daniel, I was thinking that others might be going, okay, so how did y'all put this together? Who else has endorsed it? Well, the FEMA Higher Education Program has, as well as the International Association of Emergency Managers is going through that process at this time for clear adoption. We have gotten the backing of the president, the IAM president for this, as well as others in the community have all said, as Shirley said, they look at it and go, yeah, that's us. And we're able to, put our arms around it and say, this is the code. This is what we want. We see it as a living document. We expect it to be changed. But we knew for our profession to advance, we had to get something out there to begin with.
And that is a great point. And thank you for pointing that out. I know initially in this, there may be some people who are viewing this right now and they have the same question. Well, doesn't IAM already have a code of ethics? Well, that's a code of ethics if you are a member of IAM, not if you are an emergency management practitioner. This is for the profession, not for an organization. And that's a very clear distinction. But the fact that IAM is endorsing the code of ethics is huge for us because we're not in competition here. So for those who are watching this and may have that kind of lingering thought in their mind, we're not trying to overshadow or anything undercut anybody by this process. We're trying to empower through this process and the process in general. I was just happy to be a part of it. Sandy and Shirley, thank you so much for taking the time to come and actually present it to this summit. And there will be copies of it. The PDF will be made available to everybody who is interested in the speaker profile as well. And then I will put the link for whatever reason it doesn't work. With technology happens, so it's great until it doesn't work. There will be a link to go to the higher ed page where it is actually housed. So you'll be able to get it, look at it, read it. But we want feedback, we want comments, we want discussion around the matter and how we can, as we've heard from Dr. Smith, it's going to be a living document so that when we find things that need to be updated or revised, we can make those changes. We're not set in stone here, but ultimately the level of professionalism that will come from this is going to just leaps and bounds above where we are now.
That is the intent and the desire for certain. Thank you again, Daniel.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for taking the time to come do this. Do you have any last words for the audience? And additionally, where can those who are interested find you, reach out to you?
You can reach out. I'm at California State University in Long Beach, California, and you can find me on the website there, or you can find our contact information under the Ethics SIG page at the FEMA Higher Education website.
Yeah, and I'm Sandy Smith at Arkansas Tech University. I think I'm actually listed as Sandra, and email is easysmith107@atu.edu. Look forward to connecting with people.
Absolutely. Please do that. These are two of the most valuable resources that I have at my disposal. They're two mentors of mine that I take advantage of. I've been called many times a collector of mentors, and I really am. So ultimately, it has been a pleasure to work with you on this group. I look forward to continuing the effort, and I just appreciate everything you have brought to what it is that we're doing in establishing this code. If you're out there, you're watching, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. We hope you found value here. If you would like to reach out and get more information based on what you've seen in this video, please do so. You can email me, you can DM me, or you can reach out to Shirley or Sandy in the same respect, and they could probably help you more. They have more experience than I do, but I'd be willing to make that connection as well. My goal here is ultimately to bring, to lift up the professional. In doing so, we'll lift up the profession. I am Dan Scott, and we will talk to you next time.
Thank you.